Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. I'm Marie Danae. I'm the creator of the Curvy Fashionista. And today's series, like we're back, speaking of curves is really about supporting the community, talking about things that are like really happening and really going on and finding ways to kind of draw inspiration from the situation outside, y'all, right? Because it's kind of insane. But we're finding ways to pivot, to stay encouraged, and to support all of these plus size businesses. And so each Tuesday and Thursday, we have special guests within the community, within the industry, whether it be boutique owners, designers, bridal boutique owners, singers. We have different types of people on, and it's really about showing support and love and coming together, right? So as you guys are joining in, hello, Paula. Paula already said hi. She's ready. As you guys are joining in, make sure you let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know, where you're from. If this is your first time joining us, if you are always here every day, this is a conversation. We see your comments. I want to hear from you. And let me tell you about today's guest. So if you've been following the Curvy Fashionista, we started in 2008, right? We're a little bit of an OG in this space. However, today's guest is 2 years prior to me. In 2006, she started in this journey, right? So she's a plus size woman. She started off in the beauty space. She was an OG beauty, authority, right? She had all the insight and tea on what was going on with all of our favorite makeup companies and brands. Then she moved into a different space where she worked with a plus size retailer. She was a social media guru, helping move this brand forward. Then a couple of years back, she made another pivot in which she launched her own platform, Rascal Honey, and it's more of a plus size lifestyle site. And she's based, I believe it's in Arkansas, I could be wrong. But do me a favor and welcome Miss Sarah Conley to the scene. Hello, Sarah.
Can you please be my hype woman forever and ever?
Sure, I will be your hype. I will be that hype person for you, Sarah. How you been?
Good. I mean, as good as one can be these days.
That's real. That's so real. Now, for those who don't know you, share a little bit about your journey, because I could sit here and say all of it, but it's about you, right? So Tawana was like, oh, she's hype. Hey, to run the world from KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri.
We're practically neighbors.
Oh, well, there we go. Because you're in Arkansas, right?
Yeah, I think Kansas City's a 4-hour drive from me.
We've got people here from Virginia. We've got Paula here from Virginia. We've got Lakeisha here from New Jersey. We've got Jersey in the house. Jersey's deep right now, y'all. We've got Marcia. Hello, Ebby. Oh, people are just keep on saying hey.
Wait, there's someone from Arkansas.
Oh, here we go. Hello, Keisha from Arkansas.
Amazing. This just made my day.
There you go. Look, we've got Missouri, Joplin, Missouri in the house. Hello.
They're also nearby. We're also neighbors.
There we go. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Wow. I don't really even know how to condense it, so I'm going to do my best. If I get long-winded, feel free to cut me off. So I started writing about beauty, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. It was the one thing that didn't discriminate, right? Lipstick always fits. I know Patrick Starr says that now, but it was always the feeling that I had. So I was the person that my friends came over to my apartment, actually here in the town that I live in now, and they would ask me to help them get ready. We would, go out to the club when I was much younger, obviously. But we would go out to the club and I would always do their makeup and their hair. And so we would start getting ready 4 hours earlier. And so I was always a person of the internet. I was reading Brian Boy. Brian Boy predates both of us. I would just like to.
Yes, he does.
So I was reading Brian Boy, and there were always
Susie Bubble.
Susie Bubble does also predate both of us. Wow. So I was reading all of these New York socialite gossip blogs, and just nobody understood the weird little internet world that I lived in. And so instead of trying to talk to my friends about Olivia Palermo and the socialite rank drama that was happening, I just decided to turn to the internet and find my own people online. And I started by writing about lip balm, and beauty was easy because it was accessible. And from there, I am extremely proud to say that every professional opportunity I've ever had has come from my platforms, from my blog, from social media. It's all how people have known me, and networking and referrals. Time reached out to me and asked me to write for them. CNN reached out to me and asked me to write for them. So it's so important to maintain these profiles and continue to put forward the version of yourself that you want the world to see.
And relationships, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we've known each other, I want to say, damn, like 11 years almost.
It's so crazy when we start putting ages and numbers and time periods with this stuff. It makes me realize that like we could have raised like a teenager.
Well, our platforms are teenagers, right? The Curvy Fashionista is 12 in December, girl. She is in her preteen years.
Oh my God, you're gonna have to have the talk with her soon.
I am. I'm gonna have to have the talk, girl. So listen. For the influencer, the person who's interested in being an influencer, going into social media today, or starting their own business, like that pivot, especially now, because a lot of people are learning a little bit more about themselves. They're finding new values, and you have had different situations and reasonings for the pivots you've done. What advice would you give to someone today, like, you know, in the midst of everything that's going on?
Trends change. I think what people look for in terms of, like, say, hiring freelancers or creatives or the kinds of businesses that they frequent, all of those things change just according to trends, according to what's happening in the world. You know, I'm sure that the pet industry was not prepared for what has happened in the pandemic.
And the plant industry and the plants.
Every time I try to buy a piece of furniture, aka bookshelves at Walmart, they are completely and totally out of stock, just because I think everyone is redoing their homes. You know, there's a whole list of things that these industries were not prepared. So my best advice is to listen to what your customers, and your customers can be readers, followers, you know, business relationships, listen to what they are telling you. And a lot of times they're not telling it to you in a straightforward manner. They're not saying, hey, Sarah, you know, I would really like it if you would do X or Y. Look at the places that you're getting hired. Look at the places that you're getting interest from, and move with those times instead of staying firmly planted in one area. You know, I always considered myself a writer, like inside in my heart, you know, but I didn't go to journalism school. I didn't even take like creative writing in college, you know, and when people were calling on me for my opinion and hiring me for my opinion, who am I to turn that down?
I mean, honestly, it's an opportunity.
Exactly. And then it kept happening. So I listened to the universe telling me that that is the direction that I should be going in. And you can call it intuition. You can put whatever spiritual spin on it that you want to. But it's really about listening to what the world is telling you and moving in that direction.
Now, Tawana wants to know, what is your motivating force? Like, what keeps you inspired, or how, not even what keeps you sometimes, like, but where do you still find inspiration?
One of the best places for me to get inspiration from was actually moving out of New York.
Oh, interesting.
Because the people that we serve, and what I mean by that is like our audiences, the people watching right now, they don't live in New York City. They don't shop in New York City. They shop online. They go to Target. They go to Walmart. Like, we don't talk to people who buy $3,000 dresses. And if you do, like, bless you, good on you, please put those on Instagram. But like, that's not who the average woman is. And so for me, I didn't move out of New York for this reason, but it was so incredibly impactful for me to actually reconnect with my roots and realize that the people that I thought that I was talking to are not the people I want to be talking to at all.
So now that you have discovered through Rascal Honey, your platform, you've also had some so we're going to give a shout out to our size 24 and higher ladies.
That's right.
Or ladies, right? Like either one. And I wanted to talk about how you walked in Arkansas Fashion Week. You represented and gave visibility in a way that, and you're what, you're 5'11"?
6'2".
You're 6'2", and you're a size
28.
Walking during Arkansas Fashion Week. You had a whole crop top situation going too.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
You was representing. So but you probably wouldn't have done this if you were in New York.
Definitely not. And you know what? I'm going to tell you that I almost didn't.
Okay.
So the designer that I've been walking for, Rosie Rose, she's actually asked me to walk for her 4 times now.
Okay.
The first time I was hesitant to commit because I wasn't exactly sure what was going on in my life. And I didn't know if I would be in Northwest Arkansas when Fashion Week happened. So I said no, because heaven forbid somebody makes a custom outfit for me and then is stuck with it. Like, that's not my jam. So when she asked me again, immediately following the season that I didn't walk for her, I was overjoyed, because how many times do you get asked to walk a runway at anyone as like a 36-year-old, a size 28, like any of those factors? How many times is that going to happen in your life? So I was like, I have to do this. Right. And also I kind of have to put my money where my mouth is, because if I'm telling people that they should be confident and that we need representation, then why would I shy away from that? So yeah, it was nerve-wracking. It was terrifying. And Northwest Arkansas Fashion Week, a lot of people, may or may not know this, but we're the home of Walmart. And one of Walmart's driving rules is that if you're a vendor, you actually have to have an office here. So we have offices for like Coty and Maybelline and L'Oreal. Like, if you have a product in Walmart, you have to have an office here. So there are all of these companies that are doing incredible things, and they also participate in fashion.
Who would have thought? In Arkansas. All those
offices. Exactly. We also have 2 world-class museums that have crazy, insane art. Yes, just like you would not believe it. Some of the most incredible exhibits. That's also funded by Walmart, and we can have a conversation about politics and all of that. But at least from an arts perspective, there's some really incredible things happening here that a lot of people just don't really know about. So our Fashion Week, although it's not really a week, is pretty special. And it's very diverse in ways that you also maybe wouldn't expect from Arkansas, kind of taking the general perception of it. Right. So, it was crazy. But I walked out onto the runway the very first time. And because the seats are so close to the runway and the runway is narrower than they are in New York, and there's maybe 4 rows of people seated, when you walk out onto that runway, the crowd gets quiet because it's not something that they expect. So having to steel yourself for that reaction or the gasp when you come out onto the runway. And, I have always been the kind of person that relies on personality, relies on my smile, relies on my charm. And when I'm on the runway, that's my mother. I would just like to point that out. That's my mother, my biggest fan.
Conley. Hi,
Arkansas's hottest momager right there.
Hi, Mama Conley. I love it.
But, we're so used to relying on those things to possibly disarm people. Hey, Mocha, it's nice to see you. But when you're so used to having those things to disarm people and you don't have those tools anymore and you're just stone-faced, walking the runway, letting people have opinions about your body, quite literally, and what you're wearing, it is a very overwhelming and nerve-wracking experience. And somehow I've done it twice. And I was supposed to walk in the fall shows that were supposed to happen in October. And obviously I don't think those are happening. And
right. But you'll do it again.
I will absolutely do it again. If Rosie keeps asking me, I will do it every single time. She has a true commitment to diversity, and I mean that in every sense. And so she's wonderful, and I think she's so talented and so cool. And the fact that she's also from here in Arkansas it's amazing. So yes.
So I want to pause for a second. For those of you guys who are just joining in, I'm here with Sarah Conley, an OG influencer in the beauty world, the plus size fashion space, the social media space. Like she's got 2 years before me in this game. And I kind of wanted to talk with her because like with everything that's going on in plus size fashion, in the industry, in the community, like we often have many side conversations around the things we're seeing and what's going on. But I wanted you guys to know her. If you haven't met her before, she just finished talking about how she walked in Northwest Arkansas Fashion Week as a 6'2", size 26. Did you say 6'8"? Size 28 model during Fashion Week in Arkansas. And so talking about, you know, putting your money where your mouth is and really help kind of like showing up for yourself. And even if you're someone who's been pivoting, been curious about like that pivot and what to do, we're going to be talking about it just for a couple more minutes. And so as you're joining in, like, I want to, you know, we've had people here who are letting us know, like Carissa is here from DC. We have, let's see, we got Miss Netta here from Phoenix. We've got, let me see, there was someone else I caught. Well, as you were, we got Antoinette. She's in Birmingham, Alabama. Hey, girl.
Amazing.
So as you guys are joining in, we totally want to have this as an interactive conversation. So if you have questions or comments for Sarah, make sure you ask them and I'll pull them up onto the screen. So plus size fashion, let's talk about it for a second, Sarah.
Yes.
Because especially for you, like you were talking about like how you wanted to make a strong stance in the diversity and representation and the visual representation of sizes and sizing. And there have been a lot of changes along this way. There have been a lot of changes with accessibility, with brands that have started to dip their toe into plus. There have been some brands that have just been like, we're carrying all the way up to a 10X. Was that Loud Bodies?
Yes, it's so exciting.
Loud Bodies was like, girl, we're going all the way up to a 10X. I don't even think I have, like, I think they're the only brand that goes up to a 10X.
They might be.
Right, that's Loud Bodies. For those of you guys who are curious, Loud Bodies goes up to a 10X. Shout out to them. So for you, you know, what are your thoughts about plus size fashion today?
I have such mixed emotions, and I think we're at a really pivotal point for plus size fashion. We've lost some really good brands and some startups because they weren't able to get funding because of all the big players that kind of came right before them that did get funding. A lot of the big VC firms just said, you know, it's a conflict of interest. We can't invest in your brand and this other brand. And so we lost some good ones. I think you guys all know who I'm talking about. The resale value is still very high, but I'm not selling any of my pieces.
And I still have a couple of them right now too, girls. Don't play.
And I think it's a shame, and we all kind of felt that loss. A lot of things have happened with a variety of brands. You know, Eloquii story in particular, it stands out the most, but it's also so common in terms of a brand, like a parent company just not understanding what to do with a brand and shuttering it no matter how successful it is. And so we've lost some brands. There have been some acquisitions that I also think are very interesting. But kind of Gianluca Russo made a really interesting tweet the other day, and he talked about how after 9/11, we also lost some brands because of the recession, financial hardships. And I think that we're at a point where that might happen again. And I worry about that because as a size 28, you know, I can hold all the options in the palm of my hand. Like there's not a lot of places for me to go, especially from a mass fashion perspective. And I don't want to lose any of the options I have. I need more.
Right.
So that's kind of the biggest concern right now, where my head is at. Obviously, as content creators, we do the very best that we can to support these businesses, but we can't do it alone. You know what I mean? And also, people's financial situations are so strained and precarious right now. It's something I give a lot of thought to every day.
And it's, what's interesting is that in this space, it's part of the reason why we started the whole Speaking of Curves series, is like to really show support for the indies, the small businesses, to help support them during this time so that they can make it through to the other side, whatever the other side looks like, right? Many indie designers have pivoted to adding masks, adding additional pieces, adding things so that they could better supplement their brand, right? So it's kind of become like a more of a lifestyle brand situation, which I'm here for. What I'm curious though is like, we have the acquisitions, City Chic is just all over everything right now, right? And I'm glad that they've still saved it, right? So that we don't completely lose like a Catherine's who had the full size ranges, or the Avenue who had more full sizes. But we lose the physical places to shop.
Yeah.
So
I don't blame, by the way, Eloquy recently closing their stores. I do not blame them at all. When you think about like employee costs, that's the biggest cost for any business, is labor. And if they have a thriving e-commerce presence, right now, I don't see a reason for them to have physical stores. I saw a lot of people who were upset about it, but if we're talking about losing physical stores versus losing the Eloquy that we know and love today, like, please close the stores, because I'll do what I can to keep it.
Now, Tawana had a question for you. She's like, how do you hope to expand with your brand? That's a good one.
Oh my goodness gracious. I actually, I'm trying to make some moves right now. When I started Style It, I would say like maybe in its heyday, I didn't want to run banner advertising because I thought that it made my site look hideous and ugly. And that's not where adult Sarah, who understands that bills have to be paid, lives right now. So I've got some traffic goals in mind. Most importantly, and this kind of dovetails with the traffic goals, is that I want to remain as independent as I can. And that doesn't mean not taking sponsorships, but in the sort of era that Style It and I, frankly, grew up in, I had a lot of relationships with brands and PR people. And one of the main reasons that I actually shut Style It down was because I felt like my entire existence had become beholden to these people and the access that they gave me. And so when I restarted, my presence online, but I started it as Rascal Honey, I felt like I had cut all of those strings off. I feel like NSYNC, no strings attached right now. Sorry. But I had sort of removed all of those obligations for myself, and I feel so much more free creatively. And that is really where I want to stay. And so in order to do that, it takes things like banner ads. It takes things like affiliate revenue. Of course, it takes things like sponsorships. And I want to continue down a path where I feel less encumbered by those relationships. So that is ultimately my goal.
What's interesting is that, as we both started like pre-Instagram, right?
Yes.
When Facebook opened pre-Instagram, before Facebook, like right when Facebook opened to the public, right? Like I remember like the second that they opened to the public, I was like, making my account. Or Twitter, gosh, I remember when Twitter started.
Oh, I do too. Twitter was so small at one point that in New York, I went to a Mashable party where like the founder of Mashable was there. It was kind of a tweet up, and people across the room recognized me from my Twitter profile photo because Twitter was so small that you could easily meet people or have seen them in your timeline.
Right. Oh my gosh, like I was in 2009. I think
It's crazy.
like, you know, I'm like, for me, I was like, damn, I wish I would have thought of having the Marie versus the Marie Danae, like the at. Like I'm all that would have been like, you know, epic because nowadays when you see someone with a Christy or a Pam, you're like, damn, you was an OG on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. I just joined a new platform and I got at Sarah. And let me tell you, I've never felt more accomplished.
There we go. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. So, let's see, she goes, the good old days when you can meet people from your timeline and it not be creepy. We still do that now, girl. What you talking about?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I've met so many people that I know online and you just kind of look at each other and you're like, I feel like I know you. This isn't weird at all.
Right. Like, or you get on the phone with someone and you're like, I can't believe we have not talked in like 12 years. Like we've known each other. Like, you know, hi. Like you tweet or you're in Facebook groups or you're in I don't know, like little group chats and everything like that. But you've never met in real life. But then when you finally do meet, it's like, friend. Hi. So for you, you're kind of concerned, which is natural, about like where plus size fashion is. And especially with the accessibility with sizes 24 plus. So can we give a shout out to the brands that do it well for you right now that are 24 plus?
Ooh, I wish that I had all of the money in the world to fill my closet with some of these brands that I love so much. I don't. I live in Arkansas for a reason, and that's because I'm poor. Writing does not make you a lot of money, but I do want to be able to pay my bills. So I honestly and truly spend the bulk of my fashion income at Aliquid. I now have some. Sorry, y'all. I guess the earth just shook. I now have some kind of moral qualms about supporting them after the Walmart acquisition, but you know, with Walmart being the kind of hometown favorite around here, it's kind of hard to get away from them. So I obviously look at Target all the time. I think they're doing really great things. I love that the Ava and Viv, and also there's like an intimates brand at Target, but their 4X is at 28.30. And so that I like it. I like it a lot. I always ride for Old Navy. Always. So hard, especially when it comes to jeans, for sure. I wish that I had more experience with smaller brands, but it's so hard. It's so hard, especially at the price point. Obviously, Universal Standard, we can have a whole conversation about their politics, but they have been out front with the same messaging and really proving through their actions instead of just talking about what they want to do. They've really been proving through their actions the kind of support and the kind of vision that they have for, you know, fashion and inclusivity. Let me see, who else am I super into?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, because like I'm gonna make sure I get your list, because we're gonna include this, and when we wrap this up and do our little post about you, we're gonna make sure that we get your top picks for size 20 up and shopping, so that y'all can get that. So Keisha, we'll have that in follow-up posts for you, okay?
I'm sorry that I'm just not remembering them right now. I did also just do like a favorite Black-owned business brand, and so that post on Instagram also has some favorites with some size details, because I think it's very important to make sure that when we talk about plus, that we talk about sizing. And in fact, I think all fashion should be talking about the sizes that a brand carries. Ooh.
Miss La Quinta Davis has a question. She said, any suggestions on growing your social media presence for indie designers? Go for it. This is your jam.
It is my jam. I acknowledge that it is very hard to grow a platform, and that creating content for today's, we'll call it social economy, can be a huge time investment. That being said,
it totally is.
Yeah, that being said, content really is everything in terms of getting eyeballs. I'm the director of marketing for Arkansas's only cut to order cheese shop.